Greetings, brothers and sisters. Bunch of stuff to get to. Trump goes after the Rhino Republicans because, you can't put baby in the corner and stuff with the Markles and the royal family and some other stuff. But let's start here with the CDC wants you to prepare for a zombie apocalypse or apocalypse, which the mainstream media likes to call it. Yes, you read that right. One of my viewers sent me this, but my wife was telling me about this the other day. That is coming back up, apparently, the zombie apocalypse. So this was posted May 16th, 2011. But apparently it's supposed to take place in 2021. This is the UN's official, website. Preparedness 101, zombie apocalypse. It's hard for me to say it the right way. And so, this is the CDC. They spent time and money, government time and whatever, and what to stock up on and things to be prepared for the zombie apocalypse. And this isn't the only organization, controversial organization in terms of the truth community, to do this. Because also the UN was involved with this, with World War Z, which is a pro-UN written book that was adapted for a movie. The UN promoted this. Used to be on the UN's website. So there was the book, and then there was the movie with Brad Pitt. You can see here from all these various, the UN is here, it's here, and all these various, anything about World War Z involves the UN because Brad Pitt's character plays a worker for the UN. And it's a sucky movie, but it's, total propaganda. The UN figures, the UN is portrayed as heroic and saving the world from the zombie apocalypse. The zombies are, they're not your average slow zombies. They can run really fast. And Brad Pitt bid for this movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. They both wanted to play this role. And, it's total propaganda for the UN. But also, it's promoting the zombie apocalypse as a real thing. And so, and there's just so much propaganda in it. So think about that. The UN and the CDC are using their resources to, create some fictional / real life tale about the zombie apocalypse. Here's the UN here. This is the NMI model United Nations Fight Zombies. And so the UN had last week's conference, the students participated in a mock plague similar to the zombie movie World War Z, where students had to work together to solve the plague, similar to the setup and purpose of the model United Nations, where students play the role of delegates from different countries and attempt to solve real-world issues with policies and perspectives of their assigned country. And so, and so, with things getting reals in 2020 and now even more so in 2021, the zombie apocalypse is upon us, according to these establishments. And the CDC, you want to be taken seriously. Like, they haven't done a good job with autism, cancer, and AIDS, and heart disease, right? All of which have skyrocketed under the CDC's watch. And then the COVID stuff. And they do things like this, right? So either this is real or you guys are a joke, Those are the two options. Like, why do this here? Like, it's not fun. The zombie apocalypse is never fun. So speaking of a zombie apocalypse, we have Trump issued a statement via Twitter. Somebody posted this. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. No more money for rhinos. They do nothing but hurt the Republican Party and our great voting base. They will never lead us to greatness. Send your donation to Save America Pact, at donaldtrump.com. We will bring it all back stronger than ever. So he's competing with the Republican Party for money. He said stop using his image to. He sent something to the Republican Party, a cease and desist order, to stop using his image to get donations, right? And it's Save America. Like, is he waiting 4 years? I thought he was trying to save America like in 2021. Like, what's happening? We got to wait 4 years because, by then it'll be too late.
Statement the former president put out because he's off social media. He communicates now through the letterhead of his political action committee. This is what he wrote tonight. No more money for rhinos, Republicans in name only. They do nothing but hurt. Sadly, I guess a lot of folks are going to send their money to that web address. How's this going to go over with Republicans? You can fiddle all you want around the margins with their politics, morality, their personal dignity. Threaten to take away their fundraising, you might just get their attention.
Initiated sort of a legal threat to Republicans to stop using his name in their fundraising appeals. Remember, so many arms of the Republican Party these last 4 years have been able to raise huge sums of money from grassroots activists by linking their causes to Donald Trump.
Yeah, so the media is actually pretty psyched about this, especially, MSNBC and CNN, because they want this, dispute and whatever it is. I don't know what Trump's going to do in the future, but, he's over. Like, you might be a Trump fan, but, like, it's over for Trump. Like, he's going to be 78, and, no one wants to see that thing all over again. Like I do. But the majority of people don't. Like his, whatever happened there at the end, and, they played Trump. They worked him, and he's still got very, fervent base, but in 4 years, things are going to be a lot different anyway. And so, but during this period of time, Trump is, we'll see if he has some sort of social media. He ends up creating some sort of social media platform and what else he does. But him doing this, right, his inability to tweet and his inability to use mainstream social media platforms, it's going to be just an underground movement. And so to come up with 50% of the vote when, you got a lot of people who are on the fence, independents and things like this, unless the powers that be want to resurrect him for, more division, then he's basically done. Then Gilligan Anderson got asked about Alec Baldwin.
Well, there was also this response when you gave your speech. A lot of people...
you suck when you got to play music behind your interviews. Like, your interviews aren't compelling and your content isn't compelling enough for Entertainment Tonight. They gotta pipe in crappy music to make it to keep people from falling asleep.
We're saying, wait, does she have a British accent? And responding to that, Alec Baldwin even tweeted about it. What did you think of everyone commenting on that?
I didn't pay any attention to it because it's just something that I'd live. I grew up between two countries, and so depending.
You mean Boston and Boston? Apparently she did grow up partially in England and had to create that accent. When you live in a country, right, another country, and you have to, when you live in both countries, you might develop an accent if you live in the North and the South, something like that. But that's not what Alec Baldwin's wife did. She grew up in, Boston.
Depending on who's in my ear is which direction my accent goes. And so I'm so used to it that it's kind of old news for me. So, I mean...
But you know how to pronounce cucumber, right?
I've met Alec before, and I've met it, and he's. And
he said he was going to reach out to you about it.
I haven't heard from him. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's so not a newsworthy item, but
Yeah, from your end it isn't, but from Alec's wife's end it is, because she pretended to be something else that she wasn't. That's the difference here, where you didn't say that you were from England. Sometimes you would have that accent.
I'm sad that it caused him so much distress.
Oh, well,
He was really distressed. Alec was just, he had to leave Twitter and everything. Here he is here. Cancel culture is out of control. He's upset about cancel culture and how it's out of control. He's against cancel culture. What do you got, Alec?
I think my last message went on too long. What I'm saying is I think that the cancel culture is getting out of hand. There are people that deserve to be punished for what they've done.
So it's just the people that you think should be canceled, right, Alec? He's coming in dark here. So you're saying your wife, it's just, when it reached your wife, it was too bad. Like, she doesn't deserve to be canceled. Just Trump's. Some people do, the people you pick, but other people don't. Like, now you don't like cancel culture because of your wife getting canceled.
And everybody should be punished in the same way.
That's exactly right. Democrats and Hollywood celebrities, they should not be punished in the same way as Trump's.
And everybody should be punished in the same way.
You already said that.
Even the criminal justice system recognizes that.
Exactly. The cancel culture there should be some rule of law. There should be Miranda rights for the cancel culture. The right to an attorney. All these things. You need them. We need to make the cancel culture more like the criminal justice system. You can get plea deals for the cancel culture.
But I'll leave it at that. I will make this a quick one, and that is, I deleted the other message because you go on and on and on and you try to explain things, and it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, but the message lives on because I got it on a video.
Anyway, I think the cancel culture is creating more problems than it solves. I mean, it's like trawling. It's like a giant mile-long net, and you're catching a lot of people, many of them who deserve it, and a few of them, more than a few, who don't.
Yes, well, how do we know who deserves it and who doesn't? Can we contact you and you can tell us who deserves to be canceled and who doesn't?
Or they don't deserve to have their careers and their lives destroyed. Anyway, so, what a fucking world.
That was great. Bravo, Alec. I could hear that.
Lives destroyed. Anyway, so, what a fucking world.
Come on, you guys have broken Alec Baldwin again. Trump broke him before. I made a video. You guys with your cancel culture, you broke Alec Baldwin again. You can't keep on breaking him. Right? That was wonderful. And so, I don't know what's going on. They were saying, he had a message in a car, remember? And now it's gone, which I covered already. So it was there, and now it's gone. Look at him. Look at, he's a priest. He's in Pixie. Super excited for all you watch the Pixie movie. It looks good. He's a cop. He's a priest with a gun. I don't know what he is here. Pixie, whereas here he is a priest with a gun. That must be Pixie. And it stars Olivia Cook, Ben Hardy, Daryl McCormick, with Colmini, and Alec Baldwin. You got top billing there, Alec. Hard times since your wife ended up being from Boston. When she was Spanish, your career was rocking. But now that she's just from Boston. Now she's from Boston. Well, anyways. Watch the media stars eat up Andrew Cuomo's lies before he was exposed as a fraud.
By Governor Cuomo in recent days.
Real leadership of the kind the President of the United States should have provided.
Garnering the nickname America's Governor. I think you saw it right there. He is conveying incredible strength in the face of this pandemic.
Few people have a better understanding of how to manage the pandemic than you do.
He's providing hope but not false hope.
Governor Cuomo has become a national leader.
For a lot of people, Andrew Cuomo has become the leader of the Democratic Party.
Governor Cuomo, I think, is one of the heroes on the front lines.
You spoke to National Guard troops today in a stirring speech that, if I wasn't listening carefully, I thought you were sending soldiers off to war.
Governor, there's so much in this book that I'd love to talk to you about, including the personal side of it.
This book is absolutely fantastic, I think.
Okay, we get the idea. It goes on from there. They're screwing him, right? They were screwing the media for. But the reality was there was more people died on his watch. I don't want to say killed, but, manslaughter perhaps. He had more people that died in New York than any other state for so long. Now California's passing by, but California has twice the cases. And so he was a disaster as a governor. And Newsom's a disaster as well, right, in California. But he was even worse. And they were celebrating him as a hero when he had thousands of more deaths than any place in the world, per capita. He was the worst place. He was presiding over the worst COVID response. So much information was coming out. And then, of course, the nursing home debacle, where he took the sick people, 9,000 sick people, in what he called overcrowded hospitals, and put them in nursing homes with people who were the highest risk to die from COVID. A horrible decision by any, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or even, you could be a crazy person and just hear this, simple, putting sick people in with the most vulnerable people is a bad decision. Like, it's the worst place he could have put these sick people in with. And all the other things. But the media made him into a hero until they didn't, right? It shows you how controlled they are. It's not real media, because anybody with any logic could see this guy, just his mannerisms and all of it, that he sucked, right? He just sucks, and, but they turned him to a hero, not a hero, acts like a thug, right? If you were going to cast him in a movie, he would be a mob boss. That's how he presents himself. And so there was nothing about this guy that was heroic, and now they're taking him down. They always do this with allegation after allegation, and they, he goes out, he puts out a defense, and they have another allegation that makes his defense, weak or a lie or whatever it is. And so they're taking him down, and this is a post-Trump thing. If Trump was still president, this wouldn't be happening. But the reality is there's lawsuits here. There's legitimate lawsuits from people who lost loved ones to his poor management of the COVID situation. Okay, Chris Cuomo's and Don Lemon's. Well, how are you dealing with your brother's fall?
Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt grow, thinking how it all looks hand-me-down.
How do you know the words to Good Times?
How does he know the words to Good Times? Again, compelling and quality news media as usual.
You know the words to Good Times.
I'm black on the inside.
Good Times.
What? Like, how does that? What do you mean you're black on the inside? What does that even mean? What are you talking about, Cuomo's?
Good Times.
I'm black on the inside.
Good times. Anytime you need a baby.
Florida, who, by the way, was...
He's black on the inside. That seems, really racist. Like, I'm not even sure what that even means internally, because internally you have a soul that has no color. Internally you have a soul that doesn't have a race and even a religion. Your soul is your spiritual essence. You have your ego and your psychological makeup, but that's just weird, right? So if you're saying if a white person can remember the theme song from the show Good Times, they're black on the inside? Is that all it takes? Right? What are you talking about, Cuomo's? Like, you're under fire, your brother and stuff. You shouldn't even have a job. I mean, you pandered to your brother in a way that was unprofessional. I mean, all of this stuff at CNN's unprofessional, but his was specifically because it's his brother, and he, had these shows with him when he was in his basement, and he had COVID allegedly or whatever. I mean, I think he probably did, but who knows? And his brother was on his show, and they were, people were watching Cuomo's because he was in his basement. That was his best time. Like, Cuomo in his basement. Like, you got to bring back the basement. That's all, His brother's being celebrated as a hero. And now he's, saying he's black on the inside because he somehow remembered. I mean, the whole way he sings this song here, it's weird. Like, he's been practicing. Like, when's the last time you watched the show Good Times? It was on in the 70s.
Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt grow, thinking how it all looks hand-me-down.
How do you know the words to Good Times?
You know I'm black on the inside.
Just, go away, Chris Cuomo. Just go away. Do everybody a favor. Prince Charles is in a state of despair after Prince Harry's Oprah interview. And so, there he is, masked up, and he's in a state of despair. Look at him go. Look at him. He looks so depressed. His eyes and his forehead. Look at him right here. You can see it's all right here. He's in despair. He's sitting there at some hospital. Look, the royal family was just accused of racism, possibly him. They didn't name names, but maybe it was him. And here he is talking to 4 black people, or at least 3 black people, a day after being accused of being racist, right? Yeah, that's a coincidence. Come on, bro. This is just stagecraft. This is royal family stagecraft and damage control. Apparently, there's lots of people who think this is Prince Harry's real father, who was a security guard and good friend of his mom. Prince Charles was with this woman, Camilla Parker Bowles. See, they just don't look alike, right? They don't seem to have any family resemblance, but this guy and this guy look a lot alike. And so there's this speculation. I guess they can both do that this guy is his dad. And, Prince Charles was in love with this person, Camilla Parker Bowles. And I've said this, my other videos about this. He didn't have a choice to marry her. They wouldn't allow him to marry her. And so he married Diana, which was a fake, marriage. It was one of these bloodline marriages. And he was, with this other woman. Diana said that a marriage is hard when 3 people are in it. She meant Camilla Parker Bowles. And Prince Charles' letters came out. My wife reminded me of this, the thing where he said he wishes he was her tampon or something gross like that, remember? And so I'd forgot all about that. And so there's this idea that, that Princess Di took a walk on the wild side with a security person, and Prince Charles isn't his dad. And so maybe he isn't as distressed as people think. Buckingham Palace under pressure to investigate Meghan and Harry's claims of racism. Shadow Education Secretary, Kate Green. What does shadow education mean? What kind of education are they given in Great Britain? Said the allegations were really distressing. Shadow education? I'm not even sure what that is. The Shadow Secretary of State for Education, also called Shadow Education Secretary, is an office in the official opposition shadow cabinet responsible for opposition policy on education, for holding the Secretary of State for Education, Junior Education, Ministries, and Department of Education to account. So they have shadow, they have literally a shadow government within their government. And of course, the royal family. So that's, that's kind of interesting. So apparently this resurfaced with John Oliver saying that Meghan Markle should run.
I don't think you need to have just seen the pilot episode of The Crown to get a basic sense of she might be marrying into a family that could cause her some emotional complications.
That's actually pretty funny because, they're a horrible family.
But this generation seems like nice people, right? They're all nice now, right?
Yeah.
They're not cannibals anymore. They're nice.
I mean, there's they're an emotionally stunted group of fundamentally flawed people doing a very silly pseudo job.
And they own 6.6 billion acres of land, 18% of the world's land. You know, other than that, they're, you know, harmless.
That's what she's marrying into. So I hope she likes it.
Spoiler alert, she doesn't. And Piers Morgan's having some tough days too as well.
A number of times, and I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off.
Kablam, she cut him off. They had a personal relationship, and she ghosted him, and he's sad.
If she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Sorry.
So, do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, mate, but not my own.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do this.
Sorry, can't do this. He's storming off. He's outraged. Piers Morgan is just one of the most unlikable people. And, you know, he was on Donald Trump's The Apprentice, the celebrity version. I watched that one. And just really unlikable. There was this thing with Simon Cowell. He came on, just really greasy. He won, I think. Did he? I don't know. But he just sucks, right? And then there was the Piers Morgan interview with Alex Jones, which is disturbing as well. So there are a couple messages from Whispers of the Brighter World the last couple of days. Today is March 9th, so these were messages that were sent out via email from the Whispers a Day. You can look in the description box to any of my videos and sign up for this. You just need to give them your email address, and they'll mail you out one of these Whisper messages, one of these channeled messages, mostly from Babaji, the second master of the system. And this one came out on March 8th. It was sent out March 8th, and the other one, the following one, which I'll read, is March 9th. So one of the things that's interesting about these messages is that they come out years ago. They were delivered in 2015. This one is from Sunday, November 15th, 2015 at 10 a.m. But they were emailed out and made public on some random date in the future, but oftentimes the date that they appear, it sounds like Babaji or whoever's given the message is talking about what's going on at the time the person's reading it, which is always very interesting. It's like magic in that way. Peace on earth among humans and for the good of all, that is what would be decisive for the balance of humanity. Hatreds are not constructive. They seriously hinder the expansion of consciousness and keep humankind in a dismal stagnation at all levels. Transcending those situations definitely would mark a very important step for the good of all living beings. Advancing in that direction, freed from the useless, would clarify once and for all the status of the human race. This world is far from perfection. May a general awareness allow people of goodwill to look to a higher and nobler aspects and thus liberate humankind. How many more centuries will it take to clear up the situation and ennoble human beings on their earthly journey, a journey that could provide them with so many constructive benefits on all levels? The only aspiration of the soul is to rise above the miasmas of the materiality that leave the human being overly bogged down in a state of disconcerting negativity. We are constantly working in this direction, one that truly matters to us and that seeks to change, even on a limited scale, the situation that is distressing in many respects. Let us not despair. One day the divine goal will be reached, and a wave of love will be able to engulf this world rather than see it annihilated for reasons that would prevail. Special blessings to all, Babaji. It's interesting these messages are coming out at this specific time because, again, they've been written in 2015 and yet very pertinent to what's going on today. And so Reverend Master Revered Babaji Maharaj, Monday, November 16th, 2015, 10 a.m. This world is what it is. Alas, we have no magic wand, as in children's stories, where everything can be resolved for the best. Why so much hatred, and from time immemorial? Love, that love which motivates our actions here, will one day prevail. It will take a great deal of time and perseverance, but divine laws always triumph in the end, establishing what has long been foreseen. Major upheavals will bring about a cleaning of the constructive energies, and at all levels. They will generate radical and significant change beyond what is imaginable today, where hope remains elusive. Following a spiritual process shows a deep desire to lift oneself up, to curb certain negative aspects that have been perpetrating harm for so long. Despite all this, our hope is great. Nothing is beyond redemption. The power of the divine energy will eventually triumph over evil in all of its forms. This is just a dream for now, but reality will prevail in the end. A new era will then begin and find relevant solutions to the major problems of this mad world that no longer sets itself any limits. Many of our Abhyasis became aware of this fact and do their best in a constructive way. Thoughts can initiate good. It's up to each one to be committed and thus in some manner neutralize the forces of evil. To God, nothing is impossible. It is enough to mobilize oneself and move in this direction. Each one according to their capacity. Meditation is very useful. You can be sure it purifies ambient vibrations and in a certain way transforms one's surroundings. Special blessings to all. Babaji. So if you're interested in receiving these messages from the Heartfulness Meditation, there's a link midway in the description box below any of my videos that says a whisper a day on them. And like I said, there's one of these messages mailed out every day. And they have a spiritual energy in it. They have the transmission that's given in the Heartfulness system. And they often are mood changers. And they often are addressing things going on either in somebody's life personally or things that are going on globally. The last 3 or 4 messages have been about hatred. And I've talked about this so much that hatred is in each person. If you hate something or somebody, that's your hate. Doesn't matter, what kind of a jerk or a-hole the person is, because probably they are. Probably they're a bad person, or at least they have, bad qualities. But the hatred that you have for them is yours. The hatred that you feel is your hatred. It isn't the object of your hate. It's the hate that's inside you. And it's so prevalent right now. The hatred is getting worse and worse between divisive, these divisions of people, the categories and the demographics people have been placed in by the beast, and people have chosen these demographics as well. And so you feel that the hatred is palpable. People are angrier and angrier, and it's causing disruption on every level. Because the more hate there is as an energy, hate leads to destruction and wars and all kinds of things. When people are hating, and there is hate coming out of them, because we have a high level of ability to manifest reality. So if people are filled with hate on the inside, then that hate will manifest on the outside, and it's doing that, right? And so one of the things that you can do to make the world a better place is realize no matter how bad things are going and how bad your leaders are or whatever group that you really dislike, not to indulge in hatred. In fact, just turn off the computer or watch something else, right? Don't watch things that are going to make you feel hatred, because the more hatred that is coming inside of people and manifesting into the world, the more the world's going to suck, right? Hatred is a negative energy, a low vibrational energy, and it creates a lot of bad things. All wars have come from hatred. If the people that control the system want to create a war, they do things to make people hate. And so these messages, like I said, have been very interesting about that, right? And the transformation that inevitably is going to happen. Like in the first one where he says that major upheavals will bring about a cleaning of the constructive energies at all levels. And what that's about is that there's, obviously negative energies and negative paradigms and things that can only be cleaned through some sort of destructive energy, whether it's, an earthquake or a war or something to shake people out of these constructs and bring down some of these things. So that's the need for the collapse of the civilization, to get people out of the rut of their current orientation to the world. And then where he says the only aspiration of the soul is to rise of the miasmas of the materiality that leave the human being overly bogged down in a state of disconcerting negativity. And then he goes on to say, one day the divine goal will be reached and a wave of love will be able to engulf the world rather than see it annihilated for reasons that would prevail. And see, that's what's on the table here. That's we're in this epic right now where there's a choice between us rising to a higher spiritual level where everyone on planet Earth will be saint-like. They'll be, considered what would be considered saints now, where all of humanity will have evolved spiritually, and even to the extent that there'll be a genetic mutation where people will be more spiritual and just be different in the way that they live and the way that they interact with the world and just everything, right? Their deeper connection to God. And so that's a strong possibility, and that's a plan. That's a divine plan that's in place. And then the other option would be the destruction of the planet, and, in terms of something where there would be no more human beings or maybe anything else on the planet. I mean, just the worst possible outcome. And so those are the two extremes that it's going to go one way or another. And the reason why it's not assured, even though this is a divine plan, is because human beings are the X factor, the variable, and our ability to choose, our freedom of choice, and our ability to choose wrong. And that's what we're looking at. And right now, it appears that, if you just look at what's happening with human beings, it appears that we're headed to destruction. But there are things that are going on a spiritual level, and there's a spiritual movement. On a soul level, people's souls are waking up, even if they're not consciously waking up. And then events are going to unfold, and this is a long-term plan. Like he said, how many centuries is it going to take, right, for you to choose the right thing? And that's the question. How many centuries is it going to take? How much suffering do we have to undergo to rise up above this, this destructive aspect of our human expression? Because we're not doing very well as a species. And so there are divine forces lining up to prevent human beings from going over the cliff, so to speak, destroying the world and going in, full demon or whatever it is. And so that, that's what's on the table right now. And so there's a need of the day where people have to work personally. You can't count on your leadership. Your leaders are nothing. They're not better than you. They're less evolved than you, most of you, right? They're not going to get it done. Just because they're in positions of power, just because they're rich and famous, doesn't mean they're better than you, and you should rely on them to change things or wait for them to lead you in the right direction, because they're leaders leading everybody, they're the Pied Piper leading everybody to a demonic reality, right? Something away from God. And so they're worthless. All your powerful organizations, the news media, the politicians, celebrities, wealthy people, whatever it is, they are, they're just a problem. They're not the solution, and the solution isn't going to come from them. And so you should, not look at them as being better than you, and you're waiting for them to lead you because you see them as being on a higher plane of existence when they're not. On the material level, sure, they have more power than you, but that doesn't mean they're more evolved and that they're going to be the catalyst for change. In fact, they're not. They're going to be wiped out and, whatever. They're not going to be allowed back like I've talked about in the past. And so this is for everybody who sees the problem, that you have to be part of the solution, not just diving into the cesspit every day on the internet and feeling mad and hateful and angry and all these things and just creating more negative energy. It's one of the plagues of the truth community where people just dive into the negativity all the time and complain but they don't do anything to change or to break away from the beast or do anything to connect to God or anything else, right? And that just can't go on. You're just, wasting time just being engaged with the drama. I mean, there's a lot of people who are just into the drama, like they're watching some reality TV show and they're into the drama of the whole thing. Lighten up about it. Like I always say, make it fun in some way, watching the Apocalaughs, and work towards what's going to happen on the other side. And that's a possibility for everyone. The Heartfulness System's available for free for people to receive transmission and receive their, heart cleanings on a regular basis, and to, aspire to connect to God on a deeper level and change the vibratory current of the vibratory current, the condition here on planet Earth, and help, expedite this process. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano. Definitely reporting from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.